You are frantically adjusting the silver bells on your ankles and reapplying your heavy black eyeliner, desperately trying to look seductive for a room full of 200 heavily armed combat veterans. A massive, deeply scarred mountain warlord grabs you by the waist, pulls you forcefully onto his lap, and casually feeds you a sugared almond while glaring at the other men. Welcome to the medieval Afghan equivalent of being a mafia boss's trophy wife. Except you aren't a woman, you are a teenage boy. Welcome to being a Bacha, the most expensive, highly prized luxury asset in historical Afghanistan. Forget the romanticized, dusty tales of Silk Road merchants trading spices and reading poetry under the stars. You have just spawned into a hyper-militarized, profoundly uncomfortable mountain society where your youth isn't a phase of life. It is a highly competitive, fiercely guarded, heavily taxed corporate currency. It's the era of tribal warlords. You are young, you are attractive, and you are entirely beardless. And in a fiercely patriarchal society where strict social codes mean these hardened killers basically never see women in public, you are the ultimate terrifying loophole. You are human Rolex with ankle bracelets. Your owner, a terrifying tribal commander who has definitely wiped out entire bloodlines over a minor sheep dispute, doesn't just keep you around for aesthetics. He uses you to aggressively flex on his rivals. Out in the real world, men show off their wealth with massive castles or gold-plated chariots. In this world, they show off their wealth by owning a highly decorated, hyper-feminized teenage boy. You are dragged to the Chaikana, the local tea house, which operates less like a cafe and more like a high-stakes mafia boardroom. You are sitting on a velvet cushion next to a man who smells like gunpowder, roasted meat, and terrifying authority. The room is packed with 200 heavily armed combat veterans who have been drinking strong, boiling tea and glaring at each other for 6 straight hours. And every single one of them is watching you. They are tracking your every movement. They are looking at your imported silk tunic. They are calculating exactly how much your owner spent on the lapis lazuli beads braided into your hair. But here is the absolute darkest, mind-bending psychological twist that makes your reality so uniquely horrifying. You actually need the man sitting next to you to be the most violent, terrifying sociopath in the room. He isn't just your captor. He is your border patrol, your executive producer, and your literal life insurance policy. Rejecting his heavy, possessive hand on your knee wouldn't just mean a broken heart. If this man decides you are no longer his property, or if he looks weak for even a single second, you are instantly thrown to the wolves. You become unclaimed recreational currency in a room full of 200 heavily armed, aggressively frustrated men. One casual sign of weakness from your owner, and your life expectancy drops to roughly 45 minutes. That terrifying warlord is the only thing keeping your lungs inflating. So when the wooden drums start beating, and the high-pitched rabab strings echo through the smoke-filled room, the rent for your survival is violently collected. There is no negotiation. There is no, I'm feeling a little tired tonight. There is no concept of personal boundaries. You stand up in the center of the room. You raise your arms. You start to spin. You must perform your duties in the suffocating heat with total, unquestioning enthusiasm. If you look bored or disgusted, he takes it as a direct public insult to his criminal authority. And injuring a warlord's ego in a room full of his rivals results in a savage, career-ending beatdown the second you get back to the fortress. But there is a sick, completely deranged catch to your performance on the rug. If you show too much desire, if you move too eagerly toward the other men, his fragile masculine paranoia violently spikes. He might actually convince himself that you are looking for a wealthier buyer, which would ruin his terrifying reputation. You are forced to walk a terrifying psychological tightrope in a dress. You bite the inside of your cheek to muffle your own panic. You make the silver bells on your ankles chime exactly to the beat of the drum. You let the eyes of 100 hardened killers strip you down while you violently dissociate, pretending your consciousness is floating somewhere over the snow-capped Hindu Kush mountains. Your mind turns into a compliant, painted ghost, paying physical taxes to a sociopath just to survive the night. Men throw things at you. They throw silver coins. They throw sugared almonds. They throw stolen pocket watches. You have to smile at every single one of them, picking up the tips with a practiced, flirtatious grace, knowing that if you pick up a rival's coin too slowly, it could literally start a tribal war. And then the music stops. The performance ends. Your owner drags you out by the wrist, throws you onto the back of his horse, and the heavy wooden doors of his mountain fortress lock behind you. And the dynamic violently flips. The terrifying cartel boss, who just stared down an entire room of armed killers, sits down on his private silk cushions. He pulls your head against his heavy, sweat-slicked chest. Calloused, blood-stained fingers gently pet your hair. For 3 straight hours, he whispers in the dark. But he isn't threatening you. He is crying hysterically because his favorite hunting falcon died last spring, and he still hasn't processed the grief. He sobs quietly into your silk dress because the other commanders at the tea house didn't compliment the new poetry he wrote, and it really hurt his feelings. The dominant monster who just violated every boundary you possessed is now a wounded, clingy, emotional wreck demanding to be validated. And your arms wrap around him. Because they have to. You must provide deeply mature emotional therapy to a fragile ego whose entire self-worth is dictated by tea house politics. It is a non-consensual counseling session, and the clinic is a stone fortress smelling of hashish and despair. When you aren't trapped in his private chambers playing Dr. Phil to a mass murderer, your daytime life becomes an exhausting, terrifying beauty pageant. You don't get to wake up, throw on a tunic, and go for a walk. Your owner has a highly specific, aggressively feminine aesthetic, and you are forced to maintain it with the precision of a military drill. You become the perfect, traumatized trophy wife in a society of warlords. You sit on a woven mat while a massive, heavily scarred guard applies thick, black coal eyeliner around your eyes. You are forced to paint your fingernails with crushed henna, and you are subjected to the most unhinged, dystopian beauty standards on Earth. You are sitting there, having your eyebrows meticulously plucked by a guy whose legal dispute resolution method is setting the neighboring village on fire. Make the arch higher, your owner grunts, wiping lamb grease off his beard and scrutinizing your face like a deeply unhinged pageant mom. You are receiving strict cosmetology advice from a medieval warlord. It is a domestic cosplay so deeply twisted, it completely defies human logic. But your beauty isn't just for his private enjoyment. It is a highly weaponized geopolitical tool. In the warlord economy, you are the ultimate chess piece. One evening, a rival commander from a neighboring valley rides into the territory. This guy is richer, slightly younger, and has a significantly larger private army. Your owner's fragile ego violently shatters. He doesn't challenge the guy to a sword fight. He doesn't order an assassination. That would be too simple. He uses you. He leans in, his breath hot against your neck, and whispers a terrifying corporate directive. Go dance directly in front of him, but do not look at his eyes. Look only at his teacup. You are now a human missile deployed to cause maximum public disrespect. You step out onto the rug, you dance closer, you can feel the heat radiating off the rival warlord. You spin, your bells ringing, terrified that if you accidentally make eye contact, a blood feud will start and you will be the absolute first casualty. The rival doesn't just watch, he actively tries to initiate a hostile corporate takeover. He reaches into his heavy wool coat and throws a massive, stolen British Enfield rifle directly at your feet as a tip. The room goes dead silent. The music abruptly stops. The entire tea house holds its breath. Your owner stands up, kicks the rifle away, grabs you by your little finger, and drags you out into the freezing night air. You spend the entire ride back to the fortress hyperventilating, realizing your physical body is the absolute only thing standing between two private armies going to war. The psychological whiplash makes you feel like your brain is slowly melting out of your ears. But the psychological torture reaches absolute peak absurdity when your owner decides to show you affection. He decides it is time to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of him purchasing you from a desperate, starving family. He does not buy you flowers. He does not take you to a romantic dinner. He buys a massive pile of imported pistachios and a stolen silk scarf. He strips down to his terrifying, battle-scarred skin, sits heavily on a stack of stolen carpets, and demands a highly specific private dance. You are standing in the middle of a freezing stone fortress, dancing to the rhythmic, mechanical sound of the winter wind howling through the arrow slits. It is the least sexy, most deeply unhinged strip club on planet Earth. He throws crushed pistachio shells at you like dollar bills. You have to pretend you are absolutely thrilled to be tipping your imaginary lingerie with discarded nutshells. But the absolute shock hits when his heavily armed lieutenant walks into the room to deliver a scouting report. The lieutenant stops. He looks at the pistachio shells. He looks at your heavy black eyeliner. He does not flinch. He does not excuse himself. He just nods, hands over the military report, winks at your owner, and says, "Keep the boys' bells quiet. We need to hear if the perimeter is breached." The private military is literally acting as the bouncer for your heavily guarded, highly traumatic honeymoon nightmare. You are a prisoner of war who is being forced to act like a VIP bottle service girl. Years grind by in a blurred, endless cycle of dancing, dissociation, and survival. You master the art of total, invisible numbness. You stop dreaming about your real family. You stop dreaming about actual consensual love. Your entire reality shrinks down to the perimeter of the Persian rug and the violent mood swings of whichever sociopath currently holds your leash. You become the ultimate chameleon, adapting to every new command with terrifying robotic precision. But no matter how perfectly you play the role, your existence is never secure, because you are fighting a biological war that you are mathematically guaranteed to lose. In this bizarre, hyper-fixated economy, your market value is tied exclusively to your lack of testosterone. You are a rapidly depreciating asset. Every single morning, you wake up in a cold sweat, rush to a polished bronze mirror, and frantically check your jawline. You aren't looking for zits. You are looking for the absolute kiss of death. A single dark hair. The exact second you start growing a beard, your career is completely over. You try to fight it, you panic. You pluck hairs with crude iron tweezers until your face bleeds. You mix strange, stinging herbal pastes that the older boys swear will stop the hair from growing. You are basically performing non-consensual medieval hormone therapy on yourself just to keep your lease on life. Because you know exactly what happens to a dancing boy who ages out. There is no severance package. There is no retirement fund. You don't get a gold watch, a pension, and a pat on the back for your years of service. The exact moment your voice drops and your jaw darkens, you instantly transition from a luxury asset to a worthless liability. You desperately try to cover the stubble with thicker layers of white powder. You try to pitch your voice higher when you speak to him in the dark. But men with absolute power have zero brand loyalty. One evening, your owner calls you into his private chambers. He doesn't look at you with that dark, predatory hunger anymore. He doesn't pull you against his chest and cry about his poetry. He looks at you the exact way you look at a rusted, broken piece of farm equipment. Sitting on your velvet cushion is a boy who is 4 years younger than you, terrified, shaking, and draped in your absolute favorite silk dress. Your corporate restructuring is finalized. Your owner doesn't say goodbye. He doesn't thank you for the thousands of hours of forced intimacy. He just points to the corner of the room, to a small, dirty copper kettle sitting over a low fire. You are no longer the human Rolex. You are the guy who pours the tea. You are forced to stand in the freezing shadows, holding a scalding pot, wearing a plain, colorless tunic. You have to watch the new boy step out onto the rug. You watch him bite his lip. You watch him struggle to make the bells chime on beat. You watch him walk the exact same terrifying psychological tightrope you just fell off. You survive it, you endure it, but you never, ever escape it.